Welcome to Stories and Sips. I'm Barry Chandler, a Cork man in Ohio. Welcome to the inaugural episode of Stories and Sips, a project that I hope is going to introduce millions of unsuspecting Americans to the incredible tales and tastes of the fine spirit that we're producing in Ireland. I'm celebrating the inaugural episode with a little generous pour of my favourite pot still whiskey, Redbreast 12-year-old here today. But before I get into that, and first things first, I'm not a whiskey expert. I'm an evangelist, I'm an enthusiast. Despite the fact that I grew up in Cove, 10 miles from the Middleton distillery, that doesn't make me a distiller or an expert by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm on a journey to learn, a bit like I'm sure you are, to learn more about the incredible whiskies that we're producing, their history and their stories. So this idea began about 2 years ago when I decided to trade on my Irish accent and my blarney, and I hosted an Irish whiskey tasting event to raise money for Pelotonia, a cancer research charity that I'm a part of in Columbus, Ohio. And so I assembled a group of people and, armed with a few verses of the Owl Triangle, I took the attendees on a sipping tour of Ireland. I helped introduce them to the whiskies from all corners of our country. They learned about lock-ins, they learned about Barry Crockett, they learned about pot still whiskey, and we had the crack, and we raised a bunch of money. And so I did another tasting, and another tasting, and another tasting. And fast forward now about 2 years, and hundreds of Americans have come through my Irish whiskey tasting experience in Ohio. They've been introduced to the incredible stories of Irish whiskey. I've seen lifelong bourbon drinkers swear off Kentucky spirits and instead swear allegiance to Irish whiskey, which is incredible. And I've even had 11 attendees fall in love with Ireland so much at these tastings that they asked me to bring them to Ireland to see it all in person. And I did, and we had even more crack. Not only that, in my second tasting back in 2016, I met a girl who eventually became my wife earlier this year. Now, I can't guarantee that is an outcome for all attendees, but you never know. What I came to realise is that when you share the authentic stories of Ireland's whiskey heritage, of our incredible past and our culture, when you talk about the incredible people who have created the industry that we have today, and when you pair those stories with the tastes, the sips, the smells of Irish whiskey, a deep emotional connection is formed with our little country. And I've seen it happen over and over again throughout my tastings. And what happens is people feel closer to the country. It feels a little bit more personal. It feels a little bit more real. And it creates this desire to want to visit the country and see where it all comes from. So my goal with Stories and Sips is to introduce more people to the stories behind the whiskey so that more of them will join my tastings, and maybe when they go to a bar they'll order Green Spot instead of Blanton's, and maybe eventually they'll actually want to go to Ireland to see where it all comes from themselves. So the Irish Whiskey Association has set an audacious goal to make Ireland the #1 whiskey tourism destination in the world, and it's a big goal. And it's going to take some time to get there. But as an Irishman in America, I think I can play a small role in helping that happen. And through my videos and through my tastings, hopefully more people will get introduced to Ireland, and hopefully more people will make that trip. And so hopefully I'll get to play a very small role, but certainly it helps me feel connected to the country that I left what's now 10 years ago. So what can you expect from Stories and Sips? So I'll share a new video every Tuesday and every Thursday with stories about the whiskies and the people behind them, with some news, maybe some opinion on the Irish whiskey industry, and I'll document the journey along the way through Instagram, through Facebook, as hopefully more and more people get introduced to beauties like this right here. And I need your help. If you know of any stories that would be of interest to my American audience, if you know of people behind the whiskies and people behind the distilleries, or incredible tales that will help people connect more with our country and our product and our whiskies, I'd love you to share them with me. My email address is here on the screen, and I'd love to hear any of those stories and have a chat with you so that I can share those with more people on this side of the Atlantic. And if you too shared this vision of Ireland becoming the world's #1 whiskey tourism destination, then I'd love you to share this video with your friends, share it on social media. I'd love you to give this video a like or a comment, provide some feedback, help me as I do what I can to help more people get introduced to the incredible whiskies that we're producing in Ireland at the moment. So I'm looking forward to sharing the stories and sips of Ireland's extraordinary whiskies every week. I hope you'll join me on this journey, but for now, this Redbreast has been sitting here for far too long. Sláinte.